Today I will be building a custom computer out of parts I already have, and the main computer that I was using for this is an old Compaq Presario S4200NX with a few blown capacitors. They're completely blown, but it still works. That's the motherboard I'll be using. I'll be using this old floppy connector, motherboard screws, IDE cable, floppy drive from a dead IBM, DVD rewriter from the dead Sysnet tower, and this Intel case that I had sitting around. So first thing you want to do is make sure that the connectors in your motherboard are compatible with the connectors that come in the case. Remove all this first. You got to make sure that these connectors to the front panel, like the hard drive LED, the power button, the power LED, the reset button, all that nice stuff. You gotta make sure those are compatible with your motherboard. You gotta make sure that the USB connections, which are pretty much all standard, are compatible with your motherboard. I won't be hooking up the USB on this case though, because they're extremely dirty and I don't want to stick anything in there. So, first thing to do is to get it out of the case, which I've already done, because I had it out to use it as a kind of a test bench platform. Connect all the Compaq OEM connectors. Just look like that. Connect the USB connectors. Now the motherboard can be put in the case. Sit down my tripod here. I can't see that. Isn't gonna work too well. You want to make sure the motherboard is facing the right way. When putting it in the case, you gotta make sure you line it up with all the holes and you move the cables out of the way, which I carelessly didn't do. I'm so lucky that Compaq used ATX case designs. A lot of hardware manufacturers didn't. I didn't get a very good shot of that. Normally I'd put on an I/O shield for the back ports, but since I'm just going to be taking out the motherboard again to recap it later this week or something, I'm just going to not even bother to put it on. So next you want to fasten it down. That's why I have these screws here. Camera fell right onto my arm. So these little screws, they look like that, just a standard screw. And you want to find a hole on the motherboard. It's hard to do this through a viewfinder. You want to kind of thread it on there, but don't tighten it because you might have to adjust it because you may have put the motherboard on crooked. I know that from past experiences. Had like all the screws in and the last one wouldn't fit. I had to take it off and redo the whole thing, which wasn't that hard of a job, but still it saves time if you do it right. It'd be really nice if this would keep going. Okay. Sometimes one of the screw holes is underneath the RAM slot. What the heck? Sorry about that, I had a bit of an issue because this stupid camera won't read high capacity SD cards. So I'm using this older camera that I was using in my previous videos. because when my SD card ran out of space, I had a 16 gigabyte high capacity one. It doesn't work in this PowerShot SD600 camera. So I'll put that over there. I'll continue. Anyway, as I was saying, is sometimes they hide the hole for a screw in the motherboard behind the clip on the RAM slot. So you have to move that clip to get the screw in there. Same with on this side. See, there's a clip there. Move it and you reveal a screw hole. It's way harder to do this through a viewfinder. And my choice of CPU is an Intel Celeron 1 GHz processor, because I used the Pentium 4 that was in this machine for something else. Hook up the front controls to the motherboard. So for that, I will be turning this case around. Most of this should be labeled on the motherboard. I can zoom in, but this camera won't focus. No, it won't. But as you can see, these two pins right here are the power button pins. These two pins right here are the hard drive LED pins. These two pins right here are the power LED pins, and these two pins on the end are the reset button pins. So, stupid thing. First you gotta get your wires untangled. Connect the one labeled power switch. We can't see that either. Oh, come on. Oh, is this gonna reach? Barely. Next, the hard drive LED, which would be this one right here. These were meant for an Intel board. And this is an OEM compact board, which is pretty much a rebranded Intel board. But they added some different pins, so it's not as nice as it could be. And it's almost seeming like this might not work out as planned. Or maybe it will. Okay. Next is the power LED, which I'll have to. The power supply I'm using. It's just one I've had sitting around. This is the power connector on the motherboard is 20 pin. Now I think 24 pins is standard nowadays. So a 20 pin connector on this old Macron power supply. It's for AMD and Intel. ATX 12 volt test pass. It was made in 2003, so I guess it's not that old. It's old enough though. I like the switch. Now I'm gonna find a screw to hold it on with. At least one screw anyway. What about in this old compact case? These spacers in this, or helping the motherboard from not shorting out on this Dell panel. This is from the Dell Dimension 3000. But that was there to help it from shorting out, and I was using it as a test bench. Doesn't appear to be any screws in this case. And I can see that I can use, except for right here. It's going to be attached though. Where else can I get a screw from? Oh, how about the Sysnet? This computer's a piece of crap, right? I could always borrow a screw from that. Take one from right there. Where's my screwdriver? I actually made a whole bunch of video and I forgot to press the record button. Anyway, I got a screw. One screw, which should be enough to hold my power supply in there for now. Until I get more screws. I'll do that when I care. Which is like never. Stupid battery flash is low, and again, like just charged it a day ago. Haven't even used it since then. I should hold my power supply in there. I've got to go charge my battery. Okay, so back to where we left off. My camera battery died, so I had to stop. I can only find one screw for my power supply. Right there. So it kind of wobbles if you push in on it. So you turn it on and turn it off. Or plug in a cord, it's going to push back like that. And that'll eventually break the screw or the casing around it because it's putting too much pressure on it. So I'm going to have to find another screw for down here at least, if not more up here. Anyway, it turns out that the I/O shield from the Compaq doesn't want to come out of the Compaq, so I can't put it in here. But the funny thing is, see the layout on this sticker right here is exactly the same as the layout on the motherboard. Yeah, that's how you can tell it's an Intel board, because the motherboard layout is exactly the same as the layout on the Intel board that was originally in this case in 2001. Anyway, now that our power supply is in place, we can continue to connect it to the motherboard. So right there we have our 20-pin motherboard connector and our 20-pin corresponding plug that goes into it. So you just take it. Oh, I messed that up. Just take it. You have to line up the holes. Push it in. Pull on it to make sure it won't come out, and it's in there. Next is your 4-pin 12-volt motherboard connector. And it goes right over here, or wherever the 4-pin plug is, or connector. Then you line up the holes again, push it into place till it clicks, give it a little tug, and that's not going to come out, so that's connected properly. Now next, we can install the drives. So we'll start with the floppy drive. See this floppy drive from an old dead IBM? Which is weird because IBMs don't usually die. This one just did it for no reason. So as you can see, there's a screw in the side of it. Yours probably won't have one in there, but I'll take it out anyway. There's one on this side too. Gotta save these screws because you'll need it to hold it in the case. And on the front of the case, we have our 3.5-inch bay for a floppy drive. So you just take that, line it up. You have to make sure you get it in line. Okay, so now that's in there. On the case, we have to line the holes up. Or at least one of the holes right there. Take our screw. We define our floppy drive connector. And the one thing that's weird about this power supply, it still has an AT connector on it for like an old AT computer, like that one right there. So I have no idea why they only put one there, because if you're going to be using this in an AT computer, you're going to be using an AT power supply, not an ATX power supply. So it's kind of weird how they put that on there. Maybe for a 5.25-inch floppy drive if you wanted to put that in. Anyway, you take your floppy connector and plug it into the floppy drive, and the connector's like right here on mine. Sorry about that. Anyway, you want to line it up perfectly and proceed to pushing it in there. Don't know how good that's connected, but it's good enough. So next, we can put in our CD-ROM drive. It's not really a CD-ROM drive, this is actually a DVD burner. I took from the dead Sysnet computer. It's a BenQ drive made in 2006, so it's a pretty new drive. Pretty much gives it away considering it is a DVD burner. Take these screws out. I just think I lost a screw. Okay, that's not good. Let's take these screws out. Put them all in a pile so I don't lose them. I think I did my other screw. And put it into the 5.25-inch bay here. Of course, my tripod's gonna fail as soon as I try. Piece of crap. Is it gonna stay? Okay, yeah, maybe it will. Let's line it up. There's something stopping it from going in, which it shouldn't be doing. There's nothing in there. Proceed with this anyway. Remember, do this gently, don't force it. Don't want to break anything. Yeah, I know it's a black drive and a white case, but didn't have any white drives with me. So, as usual, line up the holes. Put in some screws. I found the other screw for the floppy drive. And yes, I am actually doing this on an old bed, but just sitting up in this room. Anyway, you'll want to take a 4-pin Molex connector, and, oh, what the hell, oh, it's stuck to that, okay. No, that's not a good idea. So, take the top 4-pin Molex connector and connect it to the Molex pins on your drive. This, as I say, it's easier to do in real life. And if you ever want to, I got a second IDE drive, just you'll have the second connector here. And so now I think I'll just put in the RAM before these IDE cables get in the way of that. So I've got this 512 megabytes of DDR RAM here. So you want this hole to line up with the little bump in your RAM slot, and this cable is in the way so you can't see that. Try to move those. You can see this now. And so I want to line up the hole. As you can see, this is the correct way to put it in right here. So you'll want to line it up, which I'm doing a very horrible job of. Push it in till this side clicks, then go to this side. Oh. Push it in until it clicks. Make sure it's firmly in place, which this side isn't. Okay, that took too long. But anyway, so you install RAM, you probably already knew that. So now we will put in the floppy drive connector cable, which is easy to install. You just find the floppy connector on your motherboard, which on mine is right here. Find the end that says CPU board. If your cable isn't labeled, then find out which way it goes in, and if it doesn't say, then it probably doesn't matter. It's hard to get a good shot of this inside a case. The other side should say FDD for floppy disk drive, and you'll want to connect that to your floppy drive, like so. Push it in firmly so it won't come out. There it is. You successfully installed a floppy drive cable. Now to connect the CD-ROM drive. If you're going to be installing an IDE hard drive, like just one hard drive and one CD drive, you need two IDE cables. The blue one is for the master IDE drive, the hard drive, and the black one is just for the CD-ROM drive. And I'm using a modern IDE cable. Even though it's a modern one, it'll still work. You just need to connect it to the board and the corresponding IDE connector. Make sure it's firmly in place. Take the top one, which is for the master drive. And for some reason the connection on my CD drive is upside down. Who knows why? But you just want to put it into the IDE pins on the CD-ROM drive. Make sure you line them up so you don't wreck anything. And that's in there too. Sorry I'm doing such a bad video, but it's gonna work out. Put in the screws on the other side of the case. So our CD-ROM drive is here. Put a screw in right there. Put as many on the other side as you can. Since I have a shortage of screws, I won't be using too many of them. And you're all done tightening up those. Oh, wrong panel. Oh, and by the way, I chose a Superflower case fan for this, because there was already a vent on this side, so I figured why not. Might as well add that in there. Oh, messed that up. And push it back on. Make sure it's on there firmly. Put the case back over. Tighten up the screws on this side. Not too tight though, because then you'll strip them, and you'll be done. That's about it. I can go power it on now. Made this video way too horribly long. And if you do have a case fan installed, you can connect the Molex connector onto one of the corresponding cables here. But I don't care, I'm not going to do that. Let's go. I have the compact in the custom case hooked up by the Dell. It's all connected on the back. Oh, damn it, it's too dark. Okay. I love the big TV. Okay, so position the tripod so the screen can be seen a bit better. Move it up. Something went wrong because I forgot to plug it into the wall. That's stupid. Oh, forgot to turn the power supply. Double stupid. It runs. I should be in the BIOS by now. Yeah, I am. It's keeping good time. My keyboard here. Yeah, it's recognizing a BenQ DVD writer. Recognizing my floppy drive here. That should run my memory test. See if the DVD drive works. Ooh, that's kind of crappy. It is very suckish. Let's see how fast it goes in. That is faster there, I mean slower than it really should be. That's pretty sad. I've noticed this computer likes to do memory tests like 3 or 4 times when you start it. Oh, what the heck? For some reason it didn't start there.